पाठ कीजिए। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। टेक्स्ट 37। मैत्रेय उवाच स्वसर्गस्यासि संलोक्याम् आशासानं प्रवेपतिम् निवृत्तसन्ध्याया नियमो भार्यामाह प्रजापतिः।
Maitreya said, the great sage Kashyapa thus addressed his wife, who was trembling because of a fear that her husband was offended. She understood that he had been dissuaded from his daily duties of offering evening prayers, yet she desired the welfare of her children in the world.
कश्यप उवाच अप्राययत्तात्मनमस्ते दोषोन्मोहार्हता कृतिकाधुता मन्निदेशातिचारेण देवानां चातिहेलनात्।
The, the learned Kashyapa said, because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious.
भविष्यतस्तभवा तवा भद्राव अपत्रे चाठरा धर्मो लोकान् सपालां स्त्रीचण्डे मुहुराक्रन्दशीष्यतः।
O haughty one, you will have two contemptuous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlucky women, they will cause constant lamentation to all the three worlds.
प्राणिनां हन्यमानानां दीनानां कृतागतसां स्त्रीणां निगृह्यमाणानां कोपितेषु महात्मसु।
They will kill poor, faultless living entities, torture women, and enlarge the great souls.
सदा विश्वेश्वरः कृतो भगवाल्लोकभावनः अनिश्यत्यवर्तीयासो यथा द्रीना सता पर्वदृक्।
At that time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolts.
दितिर उवाच वदं भगवता साक्षात् सूनावबोधरा बाहुना आशासे पुत्रयोर्मह्यं मातृताद् प्रभो।
Diti said, it is very good that my sons will be magnanimously killed by the arms of the personality of Godhead with his Sudarshana weapon. O my husband, may they never be killed by the wrath of the Brahmana devotees.
न ब्रह्मदण्डदग्धस्य न भूतभयदस्य च नारकाश्च गृह्यन्ति यां यां योनिमसो गतः।
A person who is condemned by a Brahmana or is always fearful to other living entities is not favored either by those who are already in hell or by those in the species in which he is born.
हाँ,
ज्योति माता जी।
या कश्यप उवाच कृतशोकानुतापेन सद्य वर्षनात् भगवत्युरुमानाच्च भयेमयपि चादरात् पुत्रस्यैव च पुत्राणां भवितेकः सतां मतः गास्यन्ति यद्यशः सुतं भगवद्यशसा समम्।
Can you please scroll up? The learned Kashyapa said, because of your lamentation, patience, and proper deliberation, and also because of your unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me, one of the sons, Prahlad, of your son Hiranyakashipu, will be an approved devotee of the Lord, and his fame will be broadcast equally with that of the personality of Godhead.
योगैर्हर्मेव दुर्वाणा भावयिष्यन्ति साधवः निर्विरादिभिरात्मानं यच्छीलमनुवर्तितुम्।
In order to follow in his footsteps, saintly persons will try to emulate his character by practicing freedom from animosity, just as the purifying processes rectify gold of inferior quality.
यत्प्रसादादिदं विश्वं प्रसीदति यदात्मकं स स्वर्गदुःखभगवान् यस्य तोष्यन् तोष्यते अनन्यादृशा।
Everyone will be pleased with him because the personality of Godhead, the supreme controller of the universe, is always satisfied with a devotee who does not wish for anything beyond him.
स वै महाभागवतो महात्मा महानुभावो महतां महेष्टः प्रवृत्तपत्या हिनुपाविताशये निवेश्य वैकुण्ठमिमं विहास्यति।
That topmost devotee of the Lord will have expanded intelligence and expanded influence and will be the greatest of the great souls. Due to the matured devotional service, he will certainly be situated in transcendental ecstasy and will enter the spiritual sky after quitting this material world.
आलम्पटः शीलधरो गुणाकरो दृष्टः परर्त्यायतितो दुःखितेषु आपूर्तशत्रुर्जगतः शोकहर्ता नैदाधिकं तापमिवोऽङ्गराजः।
He will be a virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun.
अन्तर्बहिश्चालमब्जनेत्रं स्वपूरुषेच्छानुगृहीतरूपं पौत्रस्त्वश्रीललालनामं दृष्टा स्फुरत्कुण्डलमण्डिताननम्।
Your grandson will be able to see inside and outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose wife is the beautiful goddess of fortune. The Lord can assume the form desired by the devotee, and his face is always beautifully decorated with earrings.
मैत्रेय उवाच श्रुत्वा भागवतं पौत्रं मोदतदिति स्पृशमम् पुत्रयोश्च वधं कृष्णात् स्थित्वा सेनम् अहामनः।
The sage Maitreya said, hearing that her grandson would be a great devotee and that her sons would be killed by Krishna, Diti was highly pleased in mind.
Hare Krishna. This is kind.
Hare Krishna.
Please forgive any mistake, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for such lovely recitation. Hare Krishna, everyone. So today, I think we're going to do chapter 14, summary of Canto 3. So maybe we start with Mangalacharan and then get into it. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Ti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatare Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to facilitate this session. I seek your blessings. I have no qualifications or knowledge or realizations to be able to say something. I'm just trying to repeat what I have learned as a parrot from the various lectures and the books from Srila Prabhupada, his disciples and his disciples' disciples. So please forgive me in advance for any shortcomings, and give me a blessing that I can say and repeat something which is of use. Hare Krishna. So we are going to look at the summary of chapter 14 of the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The title of the chapter is Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. This is a beautiful chapter which has got so many ups and downs and so many lessons hidden for us. So maybe if we, so I'm going to use Gaurang Prabhu's Bhagavad Subodhini to go through the summary, and then we can discuss as we go through it. Any points that come to your mind, please feel free to stop me. So if you just quickly look at the big sections within the chapter. So essentially, the first 4 verses are Maharaj Vidura's inquiries about Varadev, and he asks more and more questions about him. Then verses 5 to 7, the speaker, Maitreya Muni is speaking to Vidur Maharaj, so Maitreya Muni praises Vidura for his questions and his inquiries. Then verses 8 to 15, Diti, who is wife of Kashyap Muni, approaches Kashyap Muni for union in the evening. We'll discuss that. Then Kashyap Muni responds to his wife. He initially glorifies his wife in verses 16 to 21. Then 22 to 29, Kashyap Muni gives reasons for postponing the union with his wife Diti. And then verses 30 to 36, they have the union, and Diti is very repentant for what she has done. And then Kashyap Muni, post that, he predicts what will happen as a result of the union which they had at an inauspicious time. And then finally, and Diti then requests finally for verses 44 to 51, Kashyap Muni speaks about Diti's grandson Prahlad. So with that as a background, maybe we start with Maharaj Vidur's inquiries, which is the verses 1 to 4. We know in the previous chapter there is the description of Varadev as to how he incarnates in Shweta avatar in one Manvantar, and then he incarnates. Shweta he's as white in Swambhuv Manu avatar, and then he also appears as reddish brown in the next Manvantar. And it's also explained like in one Manvantar, in both of them, actually, he lifts Mother Earth into her orbital position. But then in one case, the Mother Earth went down because of dissolution. And in the other case, Mother Earth went down because Hiranyaksha, who was a demon, actually hid her there in the Garbhodakshaya ocean, which is at the bottom of the universe. Like Brahmand is like an egg and so it's like an egg, and at the bottom of Brahmand is the Garbhodakshaya ocean, and within that, Hiranyaksha had kept the Mother Earth. So so in this initial 4 verses, essentially, Maharaj Vidur is actually begging Maitreya Muni with folded hands to continue to narrate the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, his appearance and his activities of the Lord. Janmakam Chame Divyam Yome Veti Tatvata. So he is fully fixed in the in wanting to know more. And I think the one big takeaway from these initial verses is how can we become more inquisitive and really inquire more about the Lord. And I was just reflecting on my whole week, and how many times I've met devotees. I mean, fortunately, last few days, over the weekend, we had the Mahasangha, and then Gaurang Prabhu was around and others. So we had chance to meet the devotees. So when I got to hear the lectures, but how many times have I genuinely inquired about the Lord? And I think we need to ask ourselves that question, which is when we meet the devotees. Are we genuinely inquiring? Are we really, really eager to know more about the Lord? And that's what we learn from Maharaj Vidur, that somehow our eagerness um, needs to be so intense that when we meet devotees, we're always eager to learn about the Lord rather than about the material world always, right? So I think that's quite fascinating. And then in verses 5 to 7, Maitreya Rishi, he congratulates Vidura. And he says, your inquiries are glorious as the Lord's topics are liberating. So he's thanking Vidura. And we've seen this throughout in Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is one after the other set of discussions, one story, one conversation inside another conversation, inside another conversation, whether it is Parikshit Maharaj with Sukdev Goswami, whether it is the sages of Naimisharanya with Sutta Goswami, whether it's Lord Shiva with Mother Parvati, whether it's Maitreya Rishi with Maharaj Vidur. So like conversations inside conversations inside conversations. But it's all about just inquiring about the Lord, and the topic is always the Lord. And here Maitreya Rishi is saying, Lord's topics are the source of liberation from the chain of birth and death for humans. And he also says how Dhruv Maharaj had similarly inquired from Narad Muni, and what was the outcome? That he was enlightened, and he finally ascended to Lord's abode, placing his feet over the head of death. It said that Dhruv Maharaj actually left this material world where the golden chariot came. He went in his same body and sat on the chariot, and then there was another chariot for his mother that came along. So it is glorious, the conversation. And then it gets into the story itself or the pastime itself of Diti and Kashyap Muni. I think before we get into the pastime, it is important to note that who is Diti? Mother Diti is sister of Mother Sati. And she's daughter of Daksha Prajapati. So we know the Daksha Prajapati was son of Lord Brahma, who agrees to create progeny, and he gives from him and his wife comes his various daughters who were married to Kashyap Muni, and they were going to spread the progeny. So it's important, like how Mother Diti was also like from a very, very renowned family. And so was Kashyap Rishi, who was clearly, I mean, one of his, we have all heard of Kashyap Rishi in various pastimes, including that of Kapila Muni. So Diti desires, but I think she desires for the union with a husband, and that's what she expresses to her. So in the next few verses, 8 to 15, she approaches Kashyap Muni for union. And she gives lots of reasons. One is her lust. She says, Cupid or the lust is torturing me. And then she says, I'm distressed that I'm the only one among your various co-wives. I'm the one who hasn't got any children. If you give me qualified children, my fame, your fame will spread all over. And then I've been attracted to you. We've got 13 sisters married to you, all of them. And why should I be the only one without a child? And a great person like you should not neglect one who approaches him in distress. So, we know in Bhagavad Gita, there's a whole set of verses around when one fixes their mind onto a sense object, dhyato vishyopunsha, like then one gets attached. When the attachment is not fulfilled, there's krodha, and then like there is a whole set of things which ultimately lead to full bewilderment. And I think Diti was so much into this like getting a child, that she kind of loses her ability to be able to decipher what's right or wrong, which will come in the next set of verses when Kashyap Muni actually explains to Diti that it is probably not the best time to go for it. But at the moment, she's completely absorbed in having union with Kashyap Muni. And she's completely bewildered and wants to have the union out of lust and out of desire to have a son like her other, co-wives of Kashyap Muni immediately. So the next set of verses is when Kashyap Muni responds to Diti, and he does it in two sections. He first glorifies his wife. So he says, Grihastha life is quite important, and he says, Dharma, Artha, Kama is a wife allows the husband to attain Dharma, Artha, and Kama, and it keeps the check and balance. So he glorifies the Grihastha ashram as to how having a wife keeps the check and balance and control for a person who cannot completely control their lust. So it is kind of a shelter which is provided in our shastras. And he goes on to say that by living with his wife and supporting other ashramas, so while Grihastha ashramas are most of the ashramas, if one lives in a Grihastha ashram nicely and supports all the other ashrams, the Vanaprasthis, the sannyasis, as well as the brahmacharis, then one can cross over the material ocean. And a wife just also, if she acts like a better half of the husband, shares in all auspicious activities and responsibilities, and also relieves the husband from anxiety. So he goes on to say that through having a wife or a husband means that one can conquer their senses, which are more difficult to conquer in other ashrams. And how can I repay you? So he first tries to glorify her, makes her feel important, which she is very important in his life. And he kind of talks about the responsibility of a husband or a wife towards their spouse in Grihastha ashram. But then he also says that please can you wait for one muhurta? One muhurat is 48 minutes. When Kalia attacked Krishna, um, Kalia had hugged Krishna for almost one muhurat, which is 48 minutes. So 48 in ancient times, or in our literatures, there is different measurement of time, which is also measured in muhurata. And he says, please can you wait for 48 minutes, because this is not the best muhurat. We all have heard of Brahma Muhurat. So, when in the morning, where we should wake up before sunrise, there is like Brahma Muhurat. During afternoon is Vishnu Muhurat, and in the evening is Shiva Muhurat. So he says the time at that time between dusk and night, that time was Shiva Muhurat, and Lord Shiva is also the so her sister's husband. So and he's saying it is Shiva Muhurat. Lord Shiva is out on the move at this time. This is inauspicious, because to indulge in these activities. I don't know about you, but like from like childhood, my mom would say that if the two times are meeting, this is also the time when Lord Nrsingadev appeared and others. One should not sleep at that time, because that's the time one has to perform more devotional activities. But anyways, he says your brother-in-law is moving around. He has got three eyes, so he can see us. So this is not the time to indulge in a union and that type of activity. And and because he's Lord Shiva, he glorifies Lord Shiva, to say, well, like he's equal to all, so you don't expect a favor just because he's your brother-in-law, because he's equal to all. And if he actually gets angry, this is not a good time. And he also glorifies him that intelligent people worship Lord Shiva to destroy ignorance. His character is spotless and has no equal, and he's the goal of saints. And is maybe is Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu. He is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. And he goes on to say that fools who pamper their bodies that are eatable by dogs disrespect Lord Shiva. So we should be very respectful to Lord Shiva. This is his time. Anyways, even Lord Brahma, who is the controller of material energy, he follows Lord Shiva. And then but still, Diti was very, very insistent, and she caught hold of Kashyap Rishi's cloth, and Kashyap Rishi Muni obliged her, and they had a union. So then, after they've had a union, from verses 32 to 36, Diti is repentant. So Kashyap Muni goes, he takes a bath, and then he sat down and to chant his Gayatri. And ashamed of her faulty action, Diti, she was from a very cultured background. She lowered her head and she spoke to Kashyap Muni to say, may Lord Shiva not kill my embryo because of my sin. I know he will be very angry, but he'll also be very forgiving. So may he, my brother-in-law, she calls him out as Sati Pati, like Sati is the sister of Mother Diti, and says he's merciful to all women. May he be placed with me. And this is when Kashyap Muni then speaks, and he predicts what will happen, and then Mother Diti requests him back. So, the Mother Diti was trembling, of course, that she had forced her husband to get into union at a time where she shouldn't have done this, and then Kashyap Muni says, everything you did was inauspicious. The mind was polluted. There was defilement of time, negligence of my direction, because he was saying, please don't do it. And finally, you did not have. There was apathy towards demigods, because this would have not pleased or displeased Lord Shiva. And then he predicts that you will have two sons who will be contemptuous, who will constantly afflict the three worlds, kill innocent and sinless living entities, as well as torture women, enrage great souls, and will be killed by Supreme Lord. And Diti immediately realizes her mistake. She was already in repentance, and she says, at least the silver lining is that my sons will be killed by the Lord. May they never be killed by the wrath of Brahmana. Because, anyone who is killed by the wrath of a Brahmana has got no hope. Whereas one who is killed by the Lord at least has hope of coming out of the cycle of birth and death. But then Kashyap Muni goes on to say how glorious her grandson is going to be. So one of the sons of the two sons, which is Hiranyakashipu in this case, will be glorious. And he goes on to talk about, he first says, he gives the reasons why she will have a glorious grandson. So first he says, because you were repentant, because you have the patience, because you did the proper deliberation, even though post facto after they went. And she had unflinching faith in the Lord, given that she was happy that the sons will be killed by the Lord themselves. And she was respectful to Lord Shiva afterwards as she was glorifying. And finally, she was also very respectful to her husband. As a result of all of those activities, one of the grandsons will be a great devotee. So sometimes, things happen when we are just not able to control ourselves. Sometimes Krishna says, Devi Shaguramai Mama Maya Duratya. The three modes just become too powerful. But from this, we can understand that, first of all, Krishna does say that even in those situations, if you surrender unto me, then you have hope. And I think this was a question asked to Sridhar Prabhu and Kishori Mataji in manner where someone said, how do you define surrender? And I think Sridhar Prabhu gave a very good answer that every second are you making a decision to please Krishna versus please yourselves or in your senses. And even if for some reason, because we are under the modes like Mother Diti, this is saying that if we have repentance and if we have proper deliberation and we are still respectful to the devotees, there's hope. Because in this case, she's confirmed that she will have a glorious grandson. And we know that Prahlad Maharaj's 14 generations up and down were all liberated because they had such a great person, a great devotee appear in their, overall dynasty, you can say that. He glorifies Prahlad Maharaj, saying, even saintly persons will try to emulate his character. Of course, he is Param Bhakta, right? And he would please everyone, the whole universe, everyone will be pleased with him. Compare him to someone like Hiranyakashipu, his father, where everyone was scared of him and no one was pleased. But Prahlad Maharaj, everyone will be pleased. The Lord will be satisfied with the devotee, who does not wish for anything beyond him, because he just wanted to remember the Lord and to please him and to please his devotees. Clearly, he will be a Mahabhagavad, as it is said. and he will eventually enter Vaikuntha. He also, glorifies other qualities of Prahlad Maharaj in verse 49, which is he'll be virtuous, he'll be qualified, virtuous, alampata, he'll be qualified, shiladhara. He'll be reservoir of all good qualities, guraka, akara, joyful in others' happiness, Shrishta, Parariddha. I mean, this is nice, right? Joyful in others' happiness, distressed in others' sufferings, Vyatita, Dukkhiteshu, and without enemies, Abhuta Shatru, and destroyer of lamentation of universe, Jagata Shoka Harta. I mean, this is amazing, his qualities. Which so many, we are very fortunate to have the association of devotees as a result of Srila Prabhupada has made all the arrangements, and Srila Prabhupada and his devotees. You've got the possibility of associating with devotees at the temples that Srila Prabhupada has given. We have the possibility of understanding the literatures that he has kindly translated. And we have so many people to guide us in our spiritual life. Especially in London, we are super fortunate. And then it's said that Prahlad Maharaj will see the Lord both internally and externally. And upon hearing this, Mother Diti is fully satisfied. That she's satisfied because she had the knowledge that her grandson will be a great devotee, even though that will come after thousands of years, because Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu lived for thousands of years, and Prahlad came a lot later. But even she was satisfied that her sons eventually will be killed by the Lord, and she will have a grandson like Prahlad Maharaj. I think that's it. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If there are any questions, comments, corrections, maybe you can unmute. Yeah. No, then thank you so much. Hare Krishna, and please forgive any mistakes I may have made. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. That was an excellent summary. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful class.